The Galactic Federation, for millennia, had been a monument to ordered progress. Its core tenets were logic, consensus, and the meticulous application of established protocols. Spanning thousands of star systems and encompassing hundreds of sentient species, it operated with the precision of a celestial clockwork. Diplomacy was the finely honed art of negotiation and compromise, warfare a disciplined exercise in strategic fleet movements and energy projection, and intelligence a vast, intricate network of data analysis and predictive modeling. The predominant species, the stoic, crystalline xylary, the pragmatic, multi-limbed Kthar, and the ethereal, energy-based Lumina, had collectively forged an interstellar society that prided itself on its stability, its foresight, and its unwavering adherence to proven methodologies. They had seen empires rise and fall, anomalies emerge and dissipate, and yet the Federation endured, a testament to its rational, methodical approach to all challenges. Humanity, or Terrans, as they were formerly known, were relative newcomers to this grand tapestry, admitted only 3 centuries prior, after demonstrating a surprising aptitude for rapid technological advancement and curious, almost chaotic adaptability. They were largely regarded as a junior species. Their diplomatic overtures were often seen as overly emotional or unnecessarily direct, their military doctrines as surprisingly aggressive for a species without a long history of interstellar conflict, and their intelligence gathering as an eclectic mix of rigorous data science and what the xylary politely termed intuitive leaps. They were tolerated, even appreciated for their occasional bursts of innovation, but never truly understood, nor fully integrated into the Federation's core decision-making processes. They were, in essence, the vibrant, unpredictable splash of color on an otherwise meticulously rendered canvas. Then came the Void Weavers. They did not arrive as an invading fleet, nor as a diplomatic envoy. They simply appeared. The first instance was a minor research outpost on the fringes of the Orion Arm, a system known for its stable, ancient red dwarf and a handful of uninhabited, mineral-rich planets. One day, the outpost simply ceased transmitting. When a Federation scout ship investigated, it found not wreckage, but nothing. The red dwarf was gone. The planets were gone. The very fabric of space where the system had once been was a swirling, indistinct void, a patch of cosmic static where there should have been the predictable hum of stellar fusion and gravitational pull. It was as if the system had been unmade. Initial Federation analysis was frantic, contradictory. Was it a new weapon? A black hole anomaly? A localized reality collapse? Over the next cycle, more reports trickled in, then flooded the Federation's central intelligence hubs. Star systems, seemingly at random, winked out of existence, not exploding, not collapsing, but simply erasing. The void left behind was not a vacuum, but an absence, a tear in the cosmic tapestry that defied all known physics. Sensors failed within a certain proximity, communications garbled into nonsensical static, and even the most advanced Federation vessels found their propulsion systems sputtering, their navigation arrays failing, as they approached the expanding zones of unreality. The xylary, with their profound understanding of cosmic constants, theorized a localized breakdown of fundamental forces. The Kthar, masters of strategic warfare, attempted to establish defensive perimeters, deploying their most powerful energy shields and kinetic barriers. The Lumina, with their psionic sensitivities, reported a profound, agonizing silence emanating from the affected zones, a void that screamed of non-existence. Fleet after fleet was dispatched, equipped with the latest weaponry, only to find their energy projectors dissipating harmlessly into the void, their missiles vanishing before impact, their very presence seeming to accelerate the unmaking. The Void Weavers were not attacking, they were simply consuming. They were not sentient in any discernible way, offering no communication, no discernible patterns of movement beyond their relentless expansion. They were a cosmic cancer, spreading inexorably, devouring star systems, and leaving behind only an incomprehensible absence. Panic began to ripple through the Federation. Entire sectors were evacuated, billions of lives displaced. The economic infrastructure buckled under the strain. The Federation Council, meeting in emergency session after emergency session, found themselves paralyzed. Their established protocols, their logical frameworks, offered no solutions. How do you fight something that isn't there? How do you negotiate with an absence? How do you gather intelligence on a phenomenon that defies observation? Their advanced predictive models, fed with millennia of data, simply returned error, unknown variable, or prediction annihilation. It was during one such desperate council meeting, after the loss of the populous Viridian sector, that Ambassador Alara Vance, the Terran representative, requested the floor. Her species had suffered losses too, though their colonies were still relatively few and far between. She stood before the assembled representatives of the Federation's most ancient and powerful species, her human form seeming almost fragile against the towering Xylari and the multi-limbed Kthar. "Honored counselors," she began, her voice calm amidst the palpable despair. "The Terran Directorate has been observing the Void Weavers. Our analysis, while incomplete, suggests that conventional methods of engagement are not merely ineffective, but counterproductive. We propose a different approach." A ripple of murmurs went through the chamber. The Kthar counselor, a formidable being named General Thrax, extended a bristly appendage. "Ambassador Vance, with all due respect, your species has offered numerous unconventional theories, none of which have yielded practical solutions. We have deployed our most advanced fleet assets, our most potent weaponry. We have sacrificed entire battle groups. What different approach could possibly succeed where the combined might of the Federation has failed?" Alara's gaze swept across the skeptical faces. The Void Weavers are not an enemy in the traditional sense. They do not seek conquest, nor resources. They are not engaging in warfare. They are, from our perspective, a fundamental distortion, a cosmic resonance that unweaves the very threads of reality. Our intelligence suggests they are not malicious, but reactive. They respond to specific energetic signatures, to the very act of direct, forceful engagement. Every energy blast, every kinetic impact, every attempt to contain them with force, feeds their process, accelerating the unmaking. The Xylari Elder, a being of ancient wisdom named Lumina Prime, shifted its crystalline form, emitting a low, questioning hum. "Reactive? To what?" "Our physicists have detected no discernible energy signature from their core, if such a thing exists. They are an absence, a nullity." "Precisely," Alara countered. "They are a nullity that responds to certain frequencies. Our researchers, drawing upon disciplines that your Federation has largely discarded as unscientific, fields like advanced pattern recognition, bioresonance harmonics, and even what some of our ancient cultures called aesthetics, believe we have identified the core principle. The Void Weavers are, in essence, a cosmic feedback loop. They amplify and invert specific energy patterns. When you hit them with destructive force, they invert that force, turning creation into uncreation." General Thrax scoffed. "Aesthetics? Ambassador, are you suggesting we compose a symphony to defeat this threat? Our worlds are being erased." "Not a symphony, General," Alara replied, her voice firm, "but a counter-resonance. We believe the Void Weavers are a naturally occurring phenomenon, albeit one on an unprecedented scale, that has been inadvertently triggered or amplified. They are a kind of cosmic noise cancellation system, but instead of canceling noise, they cancel existence. Our approach is to introduce a specific, complex, and non-aggressive energetic signature into their field, a pattern so intricate, so harmonically balanced, that it disrupts their unweaving process without feeding their destructive resonance. We call it the Reality Anchor Protocol." The council was silent. The concept was so utterly alien to their logical, direct approach to conflict. It sounded like mysticism, not science. "And what, pray tell, is this Reality Anchor Protocol?" asked the Kthar diplomat, his tone dripping with barely concealed derision. "It involves the synchronized projection of a highly complex, multidimensional waveform," Alara explained, "generated through a combination of advanced quantum entanglement arrays, bioluminescent crystalline resonators, and the collective focused consciousness of a large number of sentient beings." A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Collective consciousness. Lumina primes rose in pitch, indicating profound shock. Ambassador, that is unquantifiable, unreliable. It is not a scientific variable. Perhaps not by your current metrics, Alara conceded. But our species has a unique capacity for collective focus, for emergent properties of thought. We believe this unquantifiable element is precisely what is needed. It adds a layer of complexity, a nonlinear variable that the void weavers, being purely reactive to simpler energy forms, cannot process or invert. It's like trying to cancel a symphony with a single, blunt note. The debate raged for hours. The Federation's leading scientists presented their counterarguments, their models showing no precedent for such a phenomenon, no logical pathway to success. The military strategists argued for a final, desperate, all-out offensive. But the grim reality of their losses, the relentless expansion of the void, weighed heavily. They had exhausted all their logical options. Desperation, a concept alien to the Federation's usual composure, began to set in. Finally, after much heated discussion and the quiet, desperate plea of the Xylari elder, who saw the logic in trying anything when all else had failed, the Council reluctantly granted humanity permission to attempt their reality anchor protocol on a single, isolated system on the very edge of the Void Weaver's expansion, a system already deemed lost. Humanity moved with a speed and coordination that surprised the Federation. They didn't deploy fleets. They deployed specialized construction vessels, laden with strange, iridescent crystalline structures and massive, intricately designed quantum arrays. These arrays were not weapons, but colossal projectors, designed to generate the multidimensional waveform Alara had described. On the designated system's remaining habitable planet, a world named Xylos 7, which had been abandoned due to its proximity to the encroaching void, humanity established its primary operational hub. Federation observers, skeptical and wary, watched as Terran engineers, scientists, and even artists worked with a fervent intensity. They saw the quantum arrays being erected, humming with strange, resonant energies. They saw the bioluminescent crystals, harvested from deep space nebulae, being meticulously arranged in geometric patterns that seemed to defy conventional engineering principles. And then, they saw the humans themselves. Thousands of Terrans from all walks of life began to gather in vast, circular meditation chambers within the hub. They sat in perfect silence, their eyes closed, their breaths synchronized. Federation intelligence drones, analyzing their brainwave patterns, detected a profound, unified surge of neural activity, not a chaotic cacophony, but a structured, coherent wave, unlike anything they had ever observed in a sentient species. It was a collective focus, a shared intent, amplified and directed through the crystalline resonators. What are they doing? General Thrax demanded from his observation deck, watching the strange spectacle on his view screen. Are they simply thinking at it? Their ambassador claimed it was a collective-focused consciousness. A Xylari analyst responded, its crystalline facets shimmering with confusion. Our neural scans indicate a highly synchronized alpha and theta wave state, but its purpose, it defies our understanding of energy projection. Alara Vance, who had remained on Xylos 7 to oversee the operation, explained to the Federation liaison, a pragmatic Thar named Commander Vlor. We are not thinking at it, Commander. We are becoming a part of the anchor. The Void Weavers feed on simple, destructive energy. They invert it. But what happens when the energy is not destructive? What happens when it is a complex tapestry of intent, of creation of being? They cannot invert what they cannot comprehend. Our consciousness adds that layer of irreducible complexity, that exception to their rule. The operation began. The quantum arrays pulsed with a soft, multi-hued light. The bioluminescent crystals hummed, their glow intensifying, casting strange, shifting patterns across the barren landscape of Xylos 7. And from the meditation chambers, the unified neural resonance of thousands of humans flowed, a silent, powerful current. For days, nothing happened. The Void Weavers continued their slow, inexorable creep towards Xylos 7. Federation scientists declared the experiment a failure. General Thrax prepared his fleets for a final, desperate stand. Then, on the seventh day, a subtle shift occurred. The edge of the void, which had been a perfectly sharp, consuming line, seemed to waver. It wasn't retreating, but its advance slowed, almost imperceptibly. The static on the Federation's long-range sensors, usually a deafening roar near the void, softened, becoming a faint, almost melodic hum. "What is that?" Lumina Prime's voice, usually so calm, held a note of awe as the strange hum began to register on their most sensitive psionic receivers. "It's the counter-resonance," Alara explained, her voice tight with anticipation. "The anchor is stabilizing. The Void Weavers are encountering something they cannot process. They are hesitating." The hesitation grew. The unmaking of Xylos 7's outer planets, which had been proceeding at a terrifying pace, slowed to a crawl, then stopped entirely. The void itself, once a churning vortex of non-existence, began to shimmer, its edges blurring, as if struggling to maintain its coherence. The Federation Council watched in stunned silence. Their logical models had predicted annihilation. Their military strategies had failed. Yet here a single, seemingly insignificant human colony, with its strange crystals and collective meditations, was doing what their combined might could not. The climax arrived on the 10th day. The hum intensified, a profound, resonant vibration that seemed to permeate the very bones of the Federation observers. The quantum arrays on Xylos 7 pulsed with blinding light. The bioluminescent crystals flared, then dimmed, their energy seemingly absorbed into the colossal projection. And within the meditation chambers, the human collective consciousness reached its peak, a silent, focused roar of unified intent. Then, with a final, almost imperceptible shimmer, the void surrounding Xylos 7 retracted. It didn't explode, didn't vanish in a flash of light. It simply receded, like a tide pulling back from the shore, leaving behind the star system, battered and scarred, but present. The red dwarf star, once gone, flickered back into existence, weak but stable. The outer planets, though heavily damaged and stripped of their atmospheres, were there. They were real. The Void Weavers were not destroyed. They were contained. The Reality Anchor Protocol had created a stable, resonant field that acted as a barrier, not by force, but by a fundamental incompatibility. The unmaking process, unable to invert the complex, non-aggressive energy signature, simply ceased within the anchor's influence. The Void Weavers, once a relentless cosmic cancer, became a localized, inert phenomenon, trapped within their own self-sustaining, unweaving resonance, unable to expand further. The galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief, but it was a sigh tinged with profound unease. Humanity had saved them, but not in a way they understood, not in a way that fit their established frameworks. The reckoning began immediately. The Federation's intelligence protocols, once focused solely on quantifiable data and predictive algorithms, were thrown into disarray. Their models had failed utterly. The Terrans, with their intuitive leaps and their willingness to explore unscientific disciplines, had succeeded. The Xylari, who had prided themselves on their mastery of cosmic constants, found themselves re-examining their entire understanding of reality. They began to send their brightest minds to Earth to study Terran bioresonance harmonics and advanced pattern recognition, concepts they had once dismissed as primitive. They discovered that human intelligence, while often chaotic, possessed an unparalleled ability to find order in apparent disorder, to intuit connections where none logically existed, and to embrace the nonlinear. The Federation's intelligence agencies, once rigid and data-driven, began to incorporate more diverse methodologies, even reluctantly exploring the concept of collective consciousness as a valid intelligence-gathering tool for certain types of phenomena. The very definition of data expanded to include qualitative, emergent properties. The Federation's understanding of warfare underwent an even more radical transformation. General Thrax, who had once scoffed at aesthetics, now found himself grappling with the idea of systemic non-engagement. Direct combat, the cornerstone of Cthar military doctrine, was proven useless against the Void Weavers. Humanity had shown that true victory sometimes lay not in destroying an enemy, but in understanding its fundamental nature and rendering it inert through indirect means. The concept of warfare expanded to include ecological manipulation, though for containment, not destruction. Psychological countermeasures, not against sentient foes, but against fundamental forces, and the projection of complex, non-aggressive energy fields. The Cathar began to retrain their strategic thinkers, not just in fleet maneuvers, but in understanding the underlying principles of the threats they faced, to seek out their exceptions rather than just their vulnerabilities. The idea of a peaceful weapon or a containment strategy became a legitimate field of study. Perhaps most profoundly, Federation diplomacy was irrevocably altered. Traditionally, diplomacy was about negotiation between sentient parties, about finding common ground and compromise. But humanity had demonstrated a form of diplomacy of understanding with a non-sentient, reality-warping phenomenon. They hadn't negotiated with the Void Weavers. They had understood them, and then engineered a solution based on that understanding. This forced the Federation to consider that diplomacy might extend beyond interspecies relations, to include a deeper engagement with the fundamental forces of the cosmos, to understand the language of reality itself. It also highlighted the immense value of diverse perspectives. The Xylaries logic, the Cathar strategy, the luminous psionic sensitivity, all had been insufficient on their own. It was the Terran Exception, their unique blend of science, intuition, and collective will, that had provided the solution. The Federation began to actively seek out and integrate species with unconventional perspectives, no longer viewing them as junior partners, but as essential contributors to a more holistic understanding of the universe. Ambassador Alara Vance, once a peripheral figure, became a central voice in the Federation Council. Her insights, once dismissed as eccentric, were now sought after. Humanity's place in the galaxy was cemented, not as a powerful military force, nor as an economic powerhouse, but as their exception, the species that could see beyond the established boundaries, that could find solutions where none logically existed. They were the ones who dared to be irrational when rationality failed, who embraced the unquantifiable when the quantifiable proved insufficient. The Void Weavers remained, a contained anomaly on the edge of the galaxy, a constant reminder of the threat that had almost unmade them all. But they also served as a monument to the Terran Exception, a testament to humanity's unique and unsettling capacity to challenge the very understanding of existence. The Galactic Federation, once so sure of its methods, was humbled, its foundation shaken, but ultimately strengthened by the realization that true progress lay not in rigid adherence to the known, but in the audacious exploration of the unknown, even if that unknown came wrapped in the chaotic, brilliant package of humanity. The galaxy, having faced its reckoning, began to look at itself and at humanity with new, profoundly altered eyes. The stars, once charted by logic, now held an element of the unpredictable, a Terran spark that promised both wonder and a quiet, unsettling awe.